What makes an anime special? Well, it could be many things, like good writing, memorable characters, simple things like the score, or even growing up with a series. Kanata no Astra is one of those very special anime, and it's very special for many reasons that I want to cover in this review for the series. But before we get into that, I would like to remind you guys to give this video a like and comment what your opinions on the video or this anime are. YouTube determines my value these days by my engagement, which means the more likes and comments I have, the more YouTube will recommend these videos to others. Thank you for helping me out, and let's get into the review. On a trip to the planet Mikpa, a group of teenagers and students arrive at their destination. Now on planet Mikpa, they see a mysterious orb, but when the orb chases them and consumes them, they are sent 5,000 light years from the planet Mikpa in the middle of outer space. But luckily for them, they find themselves a derelict spaceship and use it to travel from planet to planet. Their goal is to use the ship to get themselves back to their home planet in one piece. But there is a traitor amongst the group. How will the stranded students get back home in one piece? This is Kanata no Astra. Based off the manga of the same name, Kanata no Astra is a 12-episode sci-fi space adventure from the studio which brought you Assassination Classroom, Lurch. The series was also directed by Masaomi Ondo, who is most known for directing Gakko Gurashi. You can find it subbed and dubbed on Funimation now. Kanata no Astra is a very special anime, and I can't tell you exactly the reasons behind me saying that because, alas, spoilers. The dreaded spoilers always make it hard for me to give you guys a full picture, but I'm going to try anyways to paint you that picture. Kanata no Astra is special because, for one, the setting is in space. Now, it's not like we've not had space anime before. One of my all-time favorite anime ever are Cowboy Bebop and Planetez. So the industry at this point isn't some spring chicken when it comes to that setting. But while that may be, we very rarely get anime like Kanata no Astra, let alone the twists and turns the series decides to put on the genre itself. While on the outside looking in, this may seem to you like an unsuspecting adventure through space using friendship and all those tropes. It's nothing like that at all, and it is that, all at the same time. The series uses this to make you think it's one thing, but after a certain point, Kanata no Astra starts to show its true colors, and we get a glimpse of what the series really is in episode 5. This is the episode that sold me on Kanata no Astra's story because in the first 4 episodes, it was sorta mediocre. Characters were actually dumb, like, I can't stress this enough, the characters and their writing in general had terrible logic, which made me question who was writing this and if they're drunk or not. And these simple things, like the cast not wearing their helmets when they obviously should be, I could go on and on with my criticisms of those first 4 episodes. I cannot stress enough how poor their writing is in terms of the logic used and the massive holes it leaves. Thankfully though, not many plot holes abound for the rest of the series, as episode 5 really shows you why this series is something you should spend your time with. Then later on the show kicks it into high gear and really shows you just how original and unique this story is. Much like how Cabin in the Woods doesn't reveal to you what the show is actually about, Kanata no Astra takes inspiration from something like that to hide away its secrets from unsuspecting viewers like myself and likely you. I am being very cryptic here, and this is on purpose. But for those who have seen this show, you will probably agree with me as well, that this show is something special. By episode 9, you'll be begging for more episodes of this show, and even before then, you'll be hooked by the mystery episode 5, sorta puts in place. Like I said earlier, the weakness of this series initially is its characters and how poorly their logic is. Simple things that should be corrected with a simple redraft were kept in for some unknown reason, and this is undoubtedly a mark on this show. But later on, the show's strength becomes its characters, and for what it's worth, some of them are my favorites of the season. I can't really mention this character's name as that would be spoilers, but a certain Russian became one of my favorites. I'll leave it at that. As well as characters like Kanata and Yunhwa, who I sorta ended up liking for one reason or another. Initially, it's sorta hard to like some of these characters, but once that episode 5 switch happens, I feel they only get better and better. Lurch is behind the art, and while I have seen some people call this show mediocre, and certainly the CGI is mediocre, but I disagree with the art style being anything but mediocre. The character designs have a certain classic appeal to them, much like the older Legend of Galactic Heroes anime. There is a certain roughness and the refinement I really do appreciate a lot. I personally think every character in this anime from the main cast looks spectacular. They're all just really attractive anime people, and it's really hard to not like a cast like this who look this good and also are quite funny and emotive. I think my favorite designs in this anime are Luca, Ares, Charles, Zack, and a certain Russian I can't speak much about. As for the backgrounds, they're sorta not the reason to watch this show. It's strange. You'd think a space anime would show the beautiful nature of space, but alas, it's just not the focus in this anime. And the backgrounds are just kind of there, too. And while they are good backgrounds, I get the feeling they're just simply not the focus, and therefore come off as sorta there. It's kind of sad, really. I am a huge fan of space and the great beyond, so I wanted to see more of that great beyond, you know? But at the end of the day, the show is about these people. Space is only there because it's the nature of the world they live in, the setting. Like I mentioned earlier, the show has sorta mediocre CGI, and thankfully it's only on the ship, so you won't have to deal with it much at all. Otherwise, the show's animation is actually quite well done here. While it's no KyoAni or Ufotable, the show really shows off the strengths of the show, which really isn't the animation. Much like how the backgrounds aren't really meant to be anything special, the animation isn't meant to be much more than what it's meant to be, and that's kind of just there. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't have its moments. Episode 1 features exceptional animation, and the character's highly emotive nature is often one of the best aspects about this show. Every character feels alive and unique. Take Ares as an example. You can count on her being one of the most emotive in the show, and she's animated beautifully. Not sure how this happened, but Kanata no Astra has 2 people scoring this show. Nobuaki Nobusawa, who has scored Dagashi Kashi, I love saying that, and the much maligned Steins Gate Zero, and the other person scoring is Masaru Yokoyama, who scored this season's Fruits Basket 2019 Season 1, which I just released a review for, so go check that out, and Fate Apocrypha. And to be honest, I really enjoyed the score in this show. I felt it was really well done and showed off how a good score can really make a show or scene seem better than it actually is. This score, though, is kind of really needed, though, as I think a bad or mediocre score here would have tanked this show quick. So, expect a really good score. So the dub is by Funimation, and you just know the dub will be good for a show like this. And it is. It's actually very good. Every voice fits, and with the direction from Caitlin Glass, no wonder why it's so good. Josh Grell voices Kanata, Megan Shipman voices Ares, and outside of that, we have a great, newer cast of voice actors I'm not too familiar with. But one of them stood out, and that's Olgar's actor, Christopher Dontrell Piper, who was very good in this anime. Also Sakiwa Ba, sorry if I mispronounced that, as Kidori was fantastic. Yunwa's voice actor even sang some of the songs that were originally in Japanese and English for some scenes. Voice acting was handled by Don Bennett for Yunwa, by the way. Overall, I think the dub for this show is exceptional, and is yet another dub that I think stands toe-to-toe with this sub version, which seems to be the usual these days with Funimation Now dubs. In closing, Kanata no Astra is an anime that we need more of. This is a show that really stood out in this season, which was already jam-packed with lots of good anime. In any other season, this anime would have been one of the most talked about anime, but it was simply outshined by huge shonen like Demon Slayer and a couple others. I would say absolutely give this anime a watch. It's one of the most unique anime I've seen in a long time, and I enjoyed a lot of the show, even with its glaring flaws. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Ring the bell is important because you'll never miss a video or community tab post, and know that I have a Patreon where you can support me on $1 or above and get access to everything. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.